Hi and welcome to today's video. My name is Kayla and today we are touring one of my own islands. This is Seabreeze and it's actually my fourth fully completed island. And the backstory behind this one is Seabreeze was meant to be a thriving desert city bustling with industry and an enticing tourism destination. But due to years of greed, corruption, and crime, Seabreeze is now a deteriorating city with a seedy underbelly and vast swaths of underdeveloped desert. You can see touches of what could have been in the flourishing casino district, but it's impossible to miss the crumbling streets, rundown motels, and factories in disrepair. The glow of neon pink and bright glittering lights can't hide the grungy, disheveled city or the desolate, arid landscapes. So, as we get going, you'll see that this is, like I said, a desert city, and there's going to be lots of touches of pink, city core, and a little bit of interesting lore overall on the island, as I talked about, with kind of this seedy underbelly. At this point, we're going to take a look at the map. This island has two residents, myself and Mason, just the second account I made. The villagers were really fun to line up for this island. It had a lot of kind of not cute ones, or ones that looked like maybe they had a little bit of a disheveled look or a secret to tell. So I had a lot of fun picking these residents. And as you can see, almost the whole map is covered in sand. Alright, so let's get moving. This is the entrance right when you get off the airport. And right away, we're put into the kind of city core area of the island. Now, I've never done city core before, so it took me a while to get used to it and kind of figure out the right amount of layering and clutter. And of course, codes play a big aspect in a build like this. So you can see we have just a lot of trash, weeds, those crumbling streets, and these kind of like pink tone sidewalks. There are resident homes mixed up here along with just a lot of clutter. You know, outhouses, skateboards, spray paint. And also on this island, all the villager homes are fully decorated. Our first resident is Eugene, and you'll see right off the bat that each villager has a little bit of a different style in their house, and a lot of these are hinting at a little bit more adult themes. So with Eugene here, you might connect the dots that he maybe is involved in some underground crime, maybe a little bit of drug preparation, and overall just from his house, you can see that he's not really up to any good. Lots of grungy elements trying to signify all these kind of different buildings, apartments. There's trash everywhere. Tammy's up here on the third level. I love all the mismatched furniture and the little bits of neon and like it's everywhere. Alright, so now let's go take a look at these other two residences that are home. Here's Opal. Unfortunately, because we're touring live, she's the one doing her DIY right now, so we won't spend long in there, but you might have got a quick glance that her house is a bit of a dive bar. We'll make our way over to Snooty's house. I love Snooty's house because Snooty is a hacker. So there's lots of different crimes on the island, and Snooty's is computer-based. You can see she's got a ton of monitors here. She has her own server. Got a little mini fridge and a bunch of dirty dishes and a bunch of snack food and a sloppy bed over here. Just setting the perfect vibe of a hacker, someone who's maybe doing some nefarious things online. Alright, so we're just backtracking a little bit here through the city district. And coming to the cross street over here, this is where I have nooks style doesn't really match, but tried to make it work with a bit of a parking lot, bunch of trash everywhere. A lot of the beaches on this island are undecorated. They just kind of have these overgrown weeds and stuff. And just making our way down another crowded street. I like this panel build I put behind Nook's Cranny. It's sort of like an old warehouse or something. Just really bringing home that theme of a little bit of a disheveled, grungy city. It has kind of this punky vibe, not being taken care of well. You can even see my character has a pipe in her hand. That's one of the wand options. I thought it fit perfectly with this theme, to just be running around with like a weapon in your hand. Back here we have a little bit of a kind of a construction site. It's probably been sitting like that for years, underdeveloped land. And here's the museum. So the idea that this was supposed to be kind of a tourism town, something along the likes of Las Vegas. Maybe at one point they try to bring a little culture, something that people would be enticed to go see in a museum, but as you can see, it's closed. It's overgrown with weeds. There's a construction scaffolding behind it. Nobody wants to go to this museum. And resident services is tucked back here. Another villager house just off the main drag here. You can see this Dream Address is set right at about sunset. Like that there was a little bit pink glow coming from the sky, but you could still see the stars, and the idea that night's about to fall on this city where maybe you don't quite want to be out at night. So since the city is in the desert, I was trying to figure out what to do with the waterways. And I like the idea of turning it into this maybe more man-made river. So it's really straight. There's bridges going over it. And just this idea that maybe there's a little bit of a source of water, but they had to kind of just make it what it needed to be. And as you can see on the map here, it's really straight and it's kind of just going back and peters off at one point. Alright, so this next area of the island is a really fun build. It's this huge kind of old decrepit factory. So it's still chugging along, but you can see there's broken windows, there's graffiti, there's tons of weeds. Maybe at one point they thought this would bring in a lot of workers and kind of support the city, but now it's kind of just a big eyesore. Couple delivery trucks going out. And then right off the factory here we have a beach, and this is the shipping port. So you can see I've got some huge shipping containers mocked up back here. There's boats and fish crates and oil barrels. Another shipping crate. Over here we have the dock with Cap'n. And we have two more resident homes over here. So this idea that they kind of live on the docks, on these old ocean weather-beaten houses. Here we have Rocco. And the idea here is that he kind of lives in this old shed-like structure. There's maybe an old boat in here that he's tinkering around with. You can see this probably wasn't really meant to be a home, but he threw a bed in here and is just kind of living in this grungy situation. Moving back here, we have another bridge over the man-made river. There's just kind of this empty field over here with a bunch of weeds and trash in it. And next to that is our next big build, which is a motel. This is another I had a lot of fun with. So this idea that, this was supposed to be a big thriving tourist destination, so there's got to be plenty of hotels and motels. Really classic. You've got the kind of tourist brochures out front. You've got this crappy plastic white furniture out on the patio. You can tell they kind of tried to make it nice. At one point there's like bushes and a fence, but there's weeds growing everywhere and the patio's all cracked pavement and whatnot. It's 2 stories. I love that it's got the little vending machine out here. And then this pool. And then, even though it's kind of a crappy motel, it is oceanside, so you can come down to the beach, but as you can see, it's not a very nice beach. There's like cigarette butts on the ground. And then back on the peninsula, adding a little bit of a tourist spot, somewhere where you kind of look out at the ocean, but even so, it's not very nice. There's trash on the ground. There's this closed sign. It's roped off, so you're kind of wondering, well, what's going on the rest of the beach? Why aren't we supposed to go down there? So if you keep going backwards in the island along the river here, you can see it kind of peters out. And then you keep following this road, and this is where we start to get into the more underdeveloped desert area. So the road is all cracked and falling apart, and you can see there's these closed signs and roadblocks. So somebody doesn't want you going back here. And then you find the secret beach and you're starting to wonder, well, what's going on back here? And my idea is that there's a little bit of an illegal import-export business back here, being serviced by Red, of course. So this idea that there's a little bit of a thieves' den kind of hidden out in the desert. And a little bit of a river here. You can see that maybe at one point the river was a little bit more flowing, but drought and desert conditions has kind of had it dry up in places. And there's just a lot of sand back here. I had fun making these kind of sparse desert landscapes while still adding little points of interest here and there to draw you around. Alright, here I'm just having us backtrack through the city core district area a little bit. I want to explore the right side of the island before we fully commit to the last cross street back there. Another build I had a lot of fun with. I think out in the desert kind of areas in the US, there's this idea that like there's not a lot of gas stations, so you better gas up before you start going across like a large swath of desert where there's just not much going on, and that's kind of what this one has the feeling of. It's your last stop before you are kind of out in the middle of, but still super run down, a little bit trashy. And you can see back there that the other river is butting up against the back of it. And you can go over this bridge back here where there's a little bit of a river here. Once again, it's not very big. And you can see that it kind of winds down and peters out pretty quickly out here in the desert. So this is another area where there's just nothing out here, you know, it's just a big chunk of desert with nothing much in it. And the road comes to a dead end back here. So once again, another crumbling road. And here is another villager house. So this one I like the idea of maybe this kind of off the grid person, maybe someone a little nutty. Maybe they're a little bit of a prepper back here, so they got a bunch of junk in their yard and they live really far away from everybody and the house is really run down. I'm trying to activate the guard dog here. And they live at this beach, there's just nothing out here. And I'm really glad this villager is home. This is Cobb, because his interior is really fun. So definitely living in this like crappy old shed house. And like I said, he's a prepper, so he's got a bunch of groceries, all this mismatched cheap furniture. He's got like prepper supplies on the shelf. He's got like this old radio and a vintage TV. And he's just out here ready for the world to go under. So as we come to this final cross street, this is where we start to get into the heart of the tourist district. So this is almost like the Las Vegas Strip is kind of the idea. So things are still crumbling, but we're trying to make it look a little bit nicer. And the first build here is an outdoor bar. So if you've ever been to Vegas or a tourist town, like you can just get a slushy drink anywhere you look. And so that's what kind of this outdoor bar is. It's kind of a fun place to kind of sit and drink and get something before you kind of move on and keep wandering. The streets are wider here. You see there's like a median with a bunch of benches, so You can see the city planning was meant to reflect the fact that they thought there'd be a ton of pedestrians and traffic and people coming to visit. And here in the middle, this is the entrance to the big casino in town. So it's really opulent. There's all these pink frozen arches and touches. There's statues, there's a fountain. So we're really trying to like pump up that really destination feeling. And then this villager isn't home, it's Renee, but you can see that her house is meant to be the nightclub. So it went in there, you'd see that there was like a dance floor and kind of a clubbing atmosphere. So it all fits in with this idea of this is the place where you go for nightlife. And as you come up these steps, you get to the main casino. And this is definitely fashioned after like a Caesar's palace or something with this really gaudy, opulent sort of Roman architecture. It's got tons of lights and statues and the shells and the signage. So it's all just kind of coming together to create this really big, huge architectural moment. So let's explore the interiors. And right away you open up into the casino floor. So I really tried to make this like a regular casino that is just overwhelming with noise and colors and visuals, and there's things moving everywhere. And there's slot machines. And there's an ATM, and there's just all this gaudy marble and statues and ridiculous stuff, and it just is this, attack of the senses. You'll see in a lot of rooms, not see so much as here, that I use that background chatter that you can add to rooms in the soundscapes, and I think it was just the perfect touch to really make it feel like you're in this really crowded space where there's just people everywhere, and you can't really get a quiet moment to yourself. Moving on to the first room here on the left, we have a little bit of a high rollers table. So this is maybe more of a private room where you have to have a certain amount of money you're willing to put down on the table to play. You can see there's like a stack of cash back there. You've got a private dealer. So this is maybe a little bit more elevated space for people who are ready to risk big money on the poker table here. Moving into the back room is where we have our show lounge. So casinos are well known for bringing in performers, maybe having a house act. And so this is the room where you'd go see one of those. There's a stage, there's places to sit, there's, glittering lights everywhere, microphones. So just a great place to catch some entertainment. And moving over into the right side room is where we have a bit of a bar and lounge. So of course there's got to be plenty of places to get alcohol in a town like this. And here we have this kind of classy black and pink lounge. Nice place to get a drink. Don't mind that towel on the floor back there. I learned the hard way that you need a bed in your primary residence's home interior to set a dream address, so I had to get a little creative with how I made that happen. Going upstairs, we have the big boss's office. So, since the idea is that the casino is kind of the only place making money in town anymore, and they're doing it through a bit of nefarious means, I like the idea that kind of the boss of the casino has this really opulent office where if you come up here, you might be in trouble. You might get in a little bit over your head. He's got a big, huge window behind his desk with a view of the city. And my favorite little detail over in the corner here is this kind of guarded little room where there's a bunch of bells and gold bars and a safe and the filing cabinet. You know, maybe this is where the cookbooks are kept locked up. But you can tell from looking around this room that maybe not everything's on the up and up here. Just like downstairs, it's this really showy, opulent space with marble and statues, and it's just coming on a little strong. And as we go down to the basement, of course, no casino is complete without a complete surveillance room. So you got to be on the lookout for criminals, card counting, anybody who's losing the casino money. So we've got all this tech equipment, computers, surveillance cameras everywhere. And then on the right side, you have this, this little chair with a light on it. And, maybe if someone's doing something you don't approve of, you got a few questions for them. And maybe if they're not answering the way you want, you got to apply a little outside pressure. So it's kind of fun to set up this scene that's maybe a little more adult in nature than your average Animal Crossing experience. So that's it for the first residence. And we'll head over to the second house here. And the idea is it's just an extension of the casino. So, it's all one big building. In the main room here is the hotel lobby. So not only is this a casino, but it's somewhere, they want you to stay for the night. So coming in here, we have a nice, luxurious hotel lobby. Check in at the front desk. Come back here, get some coffee, cookies. You can see that that last room is boarded off, but just in general, you've got your hotel lobby here. And moving into the first room on the left is our first guest suite. So if you're staying at this hotel, you want a luxurious experience. And this first room has this really beautiful tub, this kind of really beautiful bathroom over here. So it's got the big hot tub, kind of a whirlpool. You can see it's steaming and it's got the lights going. And just like the big boss's office, it has this huge window kind of looking out over the city with some curtains on the side. There's a shower, there's candle, there's champagne. So if you're an adult looking for kind of an elevated experience, that's what we're trying to provide here. And moving over to the right-hand room, we have another guest suite. So very similar styling, but this one has more of a living room situation than the bathtub. And you can see it's really got a nice huge TV, some built-ins, a nice little place to get ready for a night on the town. Definitely a little more elegant and elevated than the rest of the city, especially that, if you think about what maybe the motel interior rooms would be like. Going upstairs, we have the buffet. This is a real staple in sort of large, renowned casinos. So you've got the tables, the hostess stand, and then, of course, all the food back here. There's a little bit of a beverage and busing station in the corner. And heading into our final room, this is the basement. And it's another casino area. So once again, tons of sound, tons of motion. We've got more slot machines, and then down here there's some like blackjack tables. And as we exit the casino, you can see that night has fully fallen now, that pink hue in the sky has disappeared, and the stars have come out. And I'm just checking the map here to make sure that we saw everything on the island. And we have. So, I'm going to end the video here. If you made it with me this far, thank you so much for joining me on this tour. I make these videos because I love building in Animal Crossing, and I can't stand the fact that I would, flatten my whole town without being able to capture every nook and cranny of it. So thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.